Let's go to Drone Horizons, a great piece in Pirate Wires, another outlet that you should definitely be subscribed to. This one by GB Rango, fantastic name.
Great name.
Pirate Wires says, Drone Horizons, our deep dive on how drones will change the future, not just in war, but in everything from construction, infrastructure, and interplanetary space. The widespread adoption of UAV technology, piggybacked on the inexorable AI surge, could significantly retool both international power relations and the daily lives of regular people in a manner that few understand. Today in Pirate Wires, GB Rango systematically outlines the trajectory of inevitable drone developments that are going to permeate every pore of society, from agriculture to medicine to policing and national security.
And firefighting, which is particularly relevant to the last month we had here in LA.
And so let's kick it off with GB Rango's lead, which is a little anecdote here. The stadium is a roar with 80,000 raucous attendees and casts a short shadow in the midday sun. In the distance, peppered specks rise from nests unseen before gathering over the horizon like iron filings in a magnetic field. Small payload drones, hundreds of them, race balefully forward. The orchestrated swarm twists and folds in hive-like unison as it approaches its target. In response, nearer to the stadium, another group of drones ascends in concert and rushes to meet its hostile counterpart. The confrontation is swift and casually anticlimactic, with only a few citygoers caring to notice the whir of propellers or the hissing and buzzing of the interceptor's high-powered microwave pulses. The sky is clear once again, and the game goes on uninterrupted. The emergence and facile neutralization of drone threats is commonplace here in a potential future. This cross-section of a shocking and indeterminate future and those to follow are meant to demonstrate and warn of the transformational nature of an imminent drone age shift.
Dark.
Pretty crazy. But I think this is one of those things where you see one side of the technology development and you don't realize that there is the flip side that's countering it just as aggressively. Like in 2000 or the 2000s, the 2010s, if every day you were reading articles about email spam and you had no knowledge about spam filtering and the fact that that was possible, you would be like, wow, why would I ever sign up for email? Like, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But of course, it's an arms race, and there's anti-drone technology, which I think we'll talk about as well. And so I'm not quite as black-pilled as some people on this front.
I also find it hard to imagine this future if you put it in the context of how dissimilar would it be if somebody launches a hypersonic at a stadium of people and we launch, some type of countermeasure and stop it. That would be national news. So I would hope we don't experience this future because, and in this illustration, the stadium doesn't even notice, right? But just very dark. But this is like the threat, so it's worth, really paying attention to. And
there are... So he breaks it into 6 or 7 different sections. We'll give you a little tour of the article, and you can go read the full post on Pirate Wires. It says, in infrastructure and agriculture, infrastructure development will undergo drastic changes with the advent of advanced and ubiquitous drone technology. Construction sites strangely devoid of human laborers, instead populated by powerful heavy lift drones, nimble inspector craft, and bipedal robots will be more productive, efficient, and safer than ever before. Gargantuan cranes with arms outstretched, fresh metal glinting through measured pivots, rotate powerfully over the earth. He's such a good writer. This is why I love this style of writing. It just takes you on like this tour instead of just
you can really
fact,
visualize
fact,
it.
Fact. It's like, it's really like pleasurable to read.
Yeah, and it's already, can you imagine the drones working this construction site, they run into an issue, they need some type of human intervention, and you're the human that's on call, and you get a call from this nice sounding robot voice, and they're like, hey, bud, you mind stopping by the site for a few? We could really use a hand here. And it's like a human voice. And then, hopefully after you finish as a human, that the drones are nice enough to say, hey, thanks, bud. Probably won't need you anymore today, but, appreciate you stopping by. And, this is the flip right now. We tell the models what to do. Eventually they'll tell us what to do.
We are the APIs. But there is obviously there's the job displacement question, but the flip side is like, I think almost every single time a major skyscraper is built, there is a single digit death toll from workers just because it's so
Yeah.
dangerous, and you put 10,000 people on a construction site for 5 years or something, and like things are going to go wrong. And so there is a pretty significant opportunity to reduce
even
risk.
in oil
That's
and
great.
gas, right?
Yeah,
When,
totally.
on these fracking,
Yep.
every now and then a video will go, super viral, and
Yep.
it's an active, fracking site, and
Yep.
just that kind of action that's going
Totally.
on where there's heavy machinery
Yep.
whipping around.
Super
and
dangerous.
Yeah, it's just super dangerous.
And so he says, in the agriculture world, in the coming age, farms will not sleep when the sun goes down. Drones will work around the clock to protect crop yields and monitor livestock. Rustic family barns sitting bare on flat plains will look like nocturnal beehives, with luminous agents approaching for payloads before dutifully buzzing back into the dark. These small flying machines will flit nonstop through thousands of crop road acres, addressing issues like pest treatment, disease, and water shortage on the individual plant level. Very cool. And so
we got to get him to describe us.
Yeah,
preparing.
what a
for
great
podcast.
writer. Seriously,
John threw on his jacket.
Yeah, and this next segment on emergency medical services was actually highlighted on Pirate Wires. Drone delivered organs should be standard protocol for transplants, and he says over 46,000 organ transplants were conducted in the United States in 2023. Quicker transport times are associated with better patient outcomes. In the sort of major delay described above is not unheard of. In 2023, a pro-Gaza ceasefire protest on the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge blocked all westbound traffic for 4 hours. 3 UCSF organ transplant deliveries were significantly delayed, one of which had to be rerouted over the Golden Gate Bridge. But one transplant surgeon at UCSF noted that 2 other large transplant centers in the Bay Area, Stanford and CPMC, were probably suffering from the same issues as well. But now, while no known complications have been directly attributed to the protest, the proliferation of drone technology will completely eliminate the transport delay risks posed.
Yeah, I mean, a
by
lot of
such
this
scenarios.
stuff happens via helicopter now.
Yeah.
And there's companies
very
like
popular.
Blade that actually have I think at one point Blade's organ transplant business was bigger than their consumer business.
I had no idea.
During, I think it was COVID.
Wow.
Might
Yeah,
have
makes
that
sense.
off. But yeah, this is actually a very big business already, but it's kind of funny to think about, needing to fly an organ from one side of a city or county to another, and you just put it in a helicopter. Like, it's not the most efficient if you're just basically needing to transport the equivalent of like an ice chest.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. He goes on to explain search and rescue, maritime efforts, larger boats serving as bases of operation for small drone swarms that can expand radially outward and aid in the geographic process of elimination. Larger unmanned aircraft systems with multi-day endurance will work in concert with these teams to survey vast areas of open sea for survivors and identify points of interest. That just seems like a new capability.
Yeah,
that doesn't
when this
seem like
happens
job
now,
replacement.
you
That
have a
seems
bunch
like-
of pilots that go up in their planes and they take turns just taking, basically running.
Yep, there's some sort of like
running-
grid search
yeah,
that they have
grid.
to do, but it's a funny path. It's not,
And they
just
have
like
to,
what
you have to be
think they're
high up enough to get
Yeah.
enough coverage.
Yep.
But in a world where you can send 1,000 drones,
you can be much
could
lower.
almost instantly scan
Yeah.
huge surface
And
area.
so this would have been useful during hurricanes Helene and Milton, both of which struck in the fall of 2024. And drones were pivotal in the preparation for and response to these disasters. He goes on to explain that drones will have an impact on firefighting, which I think we discussed previously.
Yep.
And in America, fire department use of drones is almost exclusively limited to the realms of surveillance and intelligence gathering. In the wake of the recent Los Angeles fires, which have reportedly resulted in the deaths of at least 24 people and wreaked over $250 billion of economic damage,
Damn,
this
that
lack of
number, by the
progress.
way,
What?
2 weeks ago was at 150 billion.
So it's still climbing.
So it's
Wow.
climbing. Yeah.
Compounding this international delta is the fact that across all U.S. public safety agencies, 90% of drones in use are designed and manufactured by DJI, a company that was recently added to the Department of Defense list of Chinese military companies. While that number is from a 2020 survey and steps are being taken to limit Chinese drone usage, the status quo remains largely unchanged. So he goes into talk about foreign dominance and how they can how drones will be effective in the military, talks about regulation of drones and drone deliveries, as well as policing in the state, and finally, national security and war. National security, of course, is of paramount relevance in the discussion of drones. The nature of war is changing faster than it has at any point since the post-World War II nuclear proliferation, and drones are one of the major cruxes of this change. It is essential that America not rely on China for any segment of the defense supply chain, let alone UAS design and manufacturing.
Yeah, and this goes back. I posted a while back and it
Yep.
resonated. We needed a Stargate for domestic drone production.
Yep.
And the reason for this is that if we were in a conflict with China, they could produce presumably millions of drones a month, and we can probably right now produce, I don't know if we like needed to turn it on and produce locally.
Yep.
But however, it would be a fraction of what China could produce, and the
Yep.
capability would not be there.
Yep.
Which is just a terrible place to be in.
Yeah.
Like a huge part of the reason that we were successful in World War II was because we were able to turn on this massive, manufacturing capacity and just produce outproduce the competition.
Yeah. This is interesting. He ends with space and visions of the future. Below the arcing of stars and spirited space adventuring of generations to come, the skies are clear, save the birds and an occasional transport drone passing silently overhead. Towering biohybrid buildings draped with verdant ivory, attended to by swaths of assiduous airborne robo-gardeners, looks as if they might have emerged in search of sunlight from the earth itself. A period of peace, less fraught with tension than its Dr. Strangelove type predecessor, has settled upon the world. This is not for want of bad actors, but for their inability to find secrecy. And he closes with, now, with all of this having come to pass, there seems to be an almost palpable optimism, a sense that things can change, and that we have a significant say in how they change. A weird coalition between humans and their hive-minded autonomous aircraft, once an unnerving prospect, now powers the world forward in ways that not even the most visionary among us could have seen in a crystal ball. This or something else entirely lies ahead of us. With courageous optimism, we step into drone-filled horizons.
So clearly GB Rango should write some science fiction.
Yeah.
Because we'll read it.
So good.
One thing that's interesting too, there's already technology that's been developed to make drones silent. So it's some
different
element of the
propeller
way,
design.
Yeah, the propeller design.
It's very crazy.
And so right now it's actually nice that you can tell when a drone is. I've had situations where a drone flies over my backyard.
Yeah.
I go out there and I look up at it. I'm like,
get out of here.
Get out of here.
Scram.
Yeah,
get off my
lawn.
lawn.
Not much you can do. But imagine when they're completely silent. You're just, somebody could fly it over your backyard on a battlefield. It's pretty terrifying to think about. This kind of assassin that can move at 100+ miles an hour instantly, take you out without you even hearing about it. So very dark, but good time to get it. So one thing I would say, kind of a call to action for the audience. There are a lot of new American companies taking on this issue, developing drones for all these different use cases. If you look at Augustus and Rainmaker, they're developing drones for cloud seeding and agriculture. We could probably have 10 to 100, 50x more drone companies attacking all these different areas, everything from like the production down to the parts level, all the way up through these sort of like app layer, product layer companies. For organ transplants, not transplants, transports,
yeah,
and things of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
cool. We'll go give it a read on Pirate Wires. We love Pirate Wires and highly recommend that you subscribe. It would be just crushingly embarrassing to get caught looking at a Pirate Wires paywall in front of someone in tech.
Brutal.
You don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
And if you ever run into Solana, he has the ability to just search your email in the database and he'll know.
Yeah.
So you can't fake it, guys. Can't fake it. You got to be real subscriber.